There's something I gotta say. We see all these successful people in the world, but every single successful person has somebody pushing at them. Though they didn't want to do it, somebody kept pushing at them, making it do. I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for this opportunity. Thank you, Lord. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. Though I tried to hide, you kept pushing at me. I've been battered and tried, you kept pushing at me. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. Though I tried to hide, you kept pushing at me. I've been battered and tried, you kept pushing at me. I'm an ordinary type of fellow, got my little shell around me. Yeah, I'm real shy, y'all don't talk much, just mellow. Go to the ministry, I was like, hello. Lord, I'm like Moses, I don't want. I'm not good with the crowds, I get real nervous, just stuttering. Butterfly, just flutter, not a quick thinker, just muttering. Somebody more qualified to make it happen, get it cracking. I'm just lacking, understand that I got half a shit in practice. Who you calling on, God? I think you got it all wrong. I could think of countless reasons that can make my case strong. I ain't the one you want. There's gotta be another truth, another dude to live it smoother. Won't compromise away with you. Seems that I'm not able with my walk. I can't keep stable, cause I tried to turn the table, still get judged for my behavior. Cause all I have, God, is his mic in my hand. He said, well, take what you got, spread my name across the land. Come on. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. Though I tried to hide, you kept pushing at me. I've been battered and tried, you kept pushing at me. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. Though I tried to hide, you kept pushing at me. I've been battered and tried, you kept pushing at me. I was called to be a leader, didn't want to receive it. And the life I was living, I was ready to leave it. My soul was free falling, God stepped and retrieved it. Through his mercy and his grace, I finally conceded. I'm a modern day Moses, been chosen for this moment. Been called to free the bondage, been called to lead the hopeless. I know there's many haters that think it's atrocious. They God could take me from the gutter, have me smelling like roses. God bless me with flows, it's got them tracks like hypnosis. Cause every lyric I spit is inspired by the Holy Ghost. So I stand tall against those who oppose us. Cause great is he who's in me, so I'm more than a soldier, I'm a general. Whoa, God, let them know I got the firm behind me with double arm intervals. I'm moving with marching orders, invade them, just spiritual balls. Something the devil knows the kingdom of God, we taking over. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. Though I tried to hide, you kept pushing at me. I've been battered and tried, you kept pushing at me. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. I'm about to slow it down for this one. About to speak life, this is what we call to do, man. Let's get it. Hear me for any who wants to listen. I speak life, I speak things into existence. The power of the tongue can't enable life or death. What you choose to hold on to determines your next breath. As for me, speak life to anyone that will hear. You're more than a conqueror, stop living in fear. You're more than what you think, stop living in defeat. Cause the good with God started, man, he'll be complete. So just keep pressing forward, though it seems you're going nowhere. And know that God's there to carry all your load. And he's giving you the freedom to preach to them and heal in advance. The kingdom, plus he stamped the approval with the seal. Cause he don't call the qualified, but qualifies the call. So stop stalling and crawling, get yourself back in this wall. I speak as though they were, even when it's not, so ain't ludicrous. Wanna take the #1 spot. Though I try to resist, you kept pushing at me. Though I want none of this, you kept pushing at me. Though I tried to hide, you kept pushing at me. I've been battered and tried, you kept.
Might help if I take the mic off the muted button. But what's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are doing good tonight. This is your boy Ulysses, one half of the firm, here on the Firm Podcast. Well, you know, every once in a while we'll just drop a little random, just share what's on our mind, share what is on our heart. And so forth and so on, man. But it is all good. It is all well. Hope you guys are doing good tonight. If y'all see, as part of what we do in the random nights, would be random days or random nights, we just come on here randomly. We don't know what time. We just, you know what? I feel like going live tonight. And we just drop something. But you can catch us every Saturday night on the Firm podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is where we will be live and we will be in charge. But y'all can hear me now, though, right? Y'all can hear me now. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Blessings, Charlotte. Hope all is well with you. I know South Carolina getting hit with that hurricane pretty soon. Are you in the path? Let us know if you are in the path. If not, we're still praying. If you are, we're definitely praying. And man, big time prayer for those affected in South Florida, the west coast of Florida, Fort Myers, Naples, Sarasota, Tampa, and even up into certain parts of Central Florida. Um, they all got hit. Then it went to the Atlantic Sea. Now it's curving back in. And okay, it's good to hear. So you're sort of in the path, but you're not in the full brunt of it. So that's good. But we'll still be in prayer because the wind will knock out power and things of that nature. And I know here in Florida, we are gearing up to head down south to where everybody got affected, um, to begin the recovery and parts of it just the rebuild process. I was on a call today with with some of the going on, and they pretty much said it is devastating. The destruction is devastating, and it's really less of a recovery, more of a rebuild. So some lives were lost. Sadly to say, but a lot of destruction. So there's going to be a lot of work ahead for those who will be spearheading the rebuild process, the recovery process, and so keep those people who are driving down south, helping restoring power to those who are out, and to help rebuild everywhere from the linemen that is going to be up in the pole working it out to those volunteering, Red Cross. As I was going about today, I saw a couple of Red Cross vehicles from Texas driving, getting ready to head down to South Florida whenever they can safely do so. So it's tough. It's a very tough. It was a very strong hurricane. So prayers up for those who were affected, and grace to those who it didn't affect. So not everybody in Florida got hit, though everybody in Florida did receive some level of it. But what is going on outside of that? Outside of that somber news, how are y'all doing tonight? Tonight's conversation, it's gonna be something that's been heavy on my heart really like the last week or so, um, and it really works and deals with when it comes to the love of God. When it comes to the love of God, um, we see it in the pulpit, we hear it in the pulpit, um, but there, my heart is there. There is something that is missing. That from the time that someone speaks it to the time that actually somebody begins to exhibit um, exhibit those things. So that's what tonight's conversation going to be about. Not really sure how long I'm going to be on here, but the things that I want to talk about again is do does God does God know you? Does He know you? We see the question posed a lot as far as, do you know God? Do you know who He is? Do you know who He is in your life? Do you know what he's done for you? Like we hear a lot of questions posed in that manner, but when it comes to the flip side to that, does God know you? I think that strikes a different perspective in that manner. So we're gonna do the intro, we're gonna get into it, and then we're gonna let y'all go for the night. So without further ado, welcome to the Random Nights here on the F.I.R.M podcast. Being released from that anger, resentment, and bitterness. You know, that's evident.
Our context on it, and it kind of changed the definition.
Convinced himself that he's sufficient for himself.
I love discipleship. Why I love mentoring.
The us and the us and them is ever growing.
Facebook posts, Instagram posts, just another way of connecting with people.
Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another great conversation on F.I.R.M podcast.
What up, world? This is the F.I.R.M.
That's right. That's right. We back at y'all. Like I said, for a quick conversation. We'll not be here much too long, but let's dive into it, y'all. Does God know you? I think that's a super important question to ask, because we know the very essence of we have an idea of what the very essence of who God is. If we know that God is love, then we have an idea of who he is. Love is a very profound word. It's a very deep word. It's one of the things that a lot of us are scared of when it comes to relationships. When it comes to, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, who is this? Can I love without being hurt? There's a whole lot of nuances when it comes to love. But that's us trying to receive it, and that is us trying to give it. That is us trying to figure it out. But the question tonight is, does God know you? Does God know you? And what really struck up this conversation in the heart today was I was working and just having a conversation with God, and what he brought up to my attention was, hey, many people in these days, they will cast out devils, they will heal the sick, but yet I will tell them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquities. And so it's a very interesting process, because it's like, man, like, you're doing things in the name of God, but yet God doesn't know you. God doesn't know who you are. And not knowing who God is, or the thought process that we think we know. Like, I think I know who God is. In my mind and in my head, I know who God is. And you can tell that I know who God is, because look at how he's using you. Like we have that mindset. Like, I'm taking care of the poor, I'm praying for people, I go to Bible study every Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I fast when they ask me to fast. And so we get this idea like, man, I'm doing this for God. So look at it. I know him. I'm loving him. But the question still, does God know you? Does he know you? If Jesus says that by the way you love, by how you love, that's how they will know that you are my disciple. By how you love, not by how you pray for them or how you do Bible study with them or lead them to salvation or take your pick. Church services that you attend to. How many times you didn't cuss last week? Um, Whatever the situation is, does God know you? Does he know you? And it's kind of like, have you ever been in a situation where somebody knows you, but you don't know them? Or vice versa. You know somebody before they've ever known you. Whether it be a mutual friend has told you about so and so for weeks now or a month now, so you kind of have an idea, a gist of who they are. Or you walk into a room, you shaking hands with somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, I know who you are. So and so done told me about you several times. Yeah, I know who you are." And it kind of gives like that. Oh, well, I hope they said some good things. We do that jokingly a lot, right? Like, well, I hope it was good. But have you ever been in a situation where you think you know somebody, but then you find out you really didn't? Like relationships where I don't even know who you are. We get all dramatic. I don't even know who you are. You're not the person that I thought I knew. And we talked with them for months, for years, maybe. Like we fall into this idea, like I only know you based on what you choose to show me. That's how I know you. Based on what you choose to show me. Flavius and I are co-hosts. We're good friends. But I only know Flavius as much as he has chosen to show me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and vice versa. So if I was to do something crazy that just takes Flavius, off guard, well, he gonna tell me, bruh, I thought I knew you. I thought I knew you. What's it like to just superficially know somebody and think you know them? If these people in the Bible, if they were healing the sick because they believe that's what God wanted them to do, then God would have been like, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter now into the joy of the Lord." If they were like, God wants me to cast out spirits, God would have been like, "Enter now into the joy of the Lord because you have been faithful. You know me. You know who I am." But yet God didn't respond that way. His response was, "I never knew you." And that's That's a very humbling thought. Master P voice. I thought I told ya. Nah, 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 nah. But it's a very humbling thought. And the only thing that I can really hang my hat on is they took the time to know what God was like, but never took the time to know what he's really like. Because without love, Paul says, everything's what you do means nothing at the end of the day. Charlotte says it could be very dangerous to assume that you know someone in that circumstance. Truth. Very true. I may like you. I may even learn how to love you, but do I truly know you? But the more humbling thought is, does God know you? Does God recognize you out of a crowd? We believe he does because we are fearfully and we're wonderfully made. God will never leave us. He will never forsake us. We hold on to these biblical truths. We hold on to these encouraging words. But then we see on the flip side that God is like, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. And why is that? We spend so much time trying to prove to people and to show God and to show ourselves that we're being used, that we don't take the time to understand that if God is love, then what does that look like? If God says, I know who you are by how you love, then what does that look like to you? That's a much needed question that only you can truly answer. What does the love of God look like to you? What does it mean when God says it's too easy for you to love somebody who loves you back? But I'm looking at the way you love people who can't love you back. I saw a post the other day, and to me, it spoke to me. And the post is pretty much like, the mark of Christianity is not about you loving Jesus, but more about you loving Judas. It's not about loving people who are easy to love, but loving those who are difficult, loving those who are going to betray you, loving those who are going to lie on you, loving those who are going to cheat on you, loving those who are going to do you wrong. That's the mark of true Christianity. That's how they shall know that you are my disciples, by how you love, not those who are easy to love, but those who are difficult. God is not concerned about your ability to prophesy or to heal the sick or to raise the dead or to take your pick. He is concerned about how you love, because how you love determines if you know God and if God knows you. I had a conversation with Flavius earlier. And he was like, well, what about Jesus, when he flipped them tables and he told them people to get out the temple, that was a form of, that was pretty tough. That was rough, right? Like the people, when they was getting kicked out, they weren't like, man, Jesus is love. I felt the love. I felt all the love in that. So I thought about it for a second, and I was like, that's a very good question. Like, so when does, so we're just kind of throwing some things around, like, okay, does, so what can cause somebody to do that? What can cause Jesus to flip tables and say, you have made, this house into a den of thieves? Especially Jesus knowing that the temple is really, we are the church, we are the temple. So he knew that each of us was going to carry the kingdom inside of us. So what was he kind of referring to when it came to the temple and, making it to a den of thieves? Like, this is supposed to be a place of worship, but you turned into a den of thieves. And so what I posed was, what if the temple, before I get into that, Chris says that was his love for his father. Very good. And that's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting to. And I'm going to throw a little something extra in there. His love for his father was like, hey, you will not disrespect my father or my father's house. Also, we also know that the temple was a place where the less fortunate can go. The poor were able to go and worship. The widow was able to go and worship. The fatherless was able to go and they were able to worship. But these leaders, these church folk, these leaders that were in there making to a den of thieves, they weren't providing a place for the poor to come freely. They were not providing a place for the widow or the fatherless who had no money to come and worship freely. So Jesus's love for his father wasn't really much of the temple as much as it was the rules of the father. Like, you are, not only are you disrespecting my father, but you're also disrespecting his rules. You are disrespecting the fact that the temple was not just for you as church leaders, was not for you den of thieves to come and try to profit from these people, but it was for you to allow these people to worship, to come in, to pray to their God, worship the Father, and you are now taking that away from them. So my love, my compassion that I have for the less fortunate, the passion, the compassion that I have for my Father's rules has allowed me to turn these tables over and to call you what you really are. You're breaking my Father's rules. One of the biggest lines that God drew, whether it was Old Testament or whether it was New Testament, was the love for the less fortunate. Love for the poor. Love for the widow. You take care of these people, and God says, I'll take care of you. You take care of those who can't take care of themselves. You want to know me? You want to know where my heart's at? Are you taking care of those less fortunate? Not the guy that's driving the Rolls Royce or the Range Rover, asking you for money to support his ministry. But are you taking care of the less fortunate? Are you loving those who can't pay you back? And it's not saying start giving money to everybody or your whatever the case is, everybody that you see. No, but the Spirit will definitely lead you when it comes to that. The Spirit's going to lead you. But what we have is back to the question, does God know you? And one of the ways to answer that question is, do I know what God's love looks like? And we got to be honest. I don't fully comprehend the love of God. I don't. I think I have a good beat on it sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, this, that, and the third, and God brings revelation, and it's powerful, and it's amazing, and I love it. And then other times it's like, God, what you want me to do? What? You want me to bless my enemy? What does that mean? What's going on, Flav? What's happening?
What's going on, sir? How you doing? How you doing?
Oh,
Y'all in
doing
here
good.
deep.
Yeah. We getting deep, man. We're talking about, does God know you?
Ooh.
And so I was just briefly just talking about, like, man, like sometimes, man, I have this idea of what God's love is, right? Like, you'll be talking and I'll be like sharing stuff, and it's like, oh, revelation. Let me write that down. Facebook post it. You know what I'm saying? That way I don't forget it. So by this time next year, when it comes to the memory, I could be like, oh man, I remember this. But then, am I really practicing? Am I putting into action what God is actually trying to teach me? What God is showing me? Chris Nutter giving you a shout out. He says, yo.
Yeah. What's going on, sir? What up? What up? I ain't gonna do it.
But am I practicing what God is teaching me? Am I loving those? When God told me a couple months back to bless my enemy, and not only just to bless my enemy, but to give a certain amount, I was like, nope. Not gonna happen. Nope. Another shout out.
What's going on, Charlotte? What's going on, everybody? Happy to be here. Go ahead.
I was like, nope. That is not God. Nope. And I literally, God told me how much to give. And then the opportunity presented itself in front of my face. And I'm still wrestling in my mind. Okay, I won't give this amount, but I'll give this amount. Lord, I think you'll be okay with this, right? Because I shouldn't be giving anything, period. I shouldn't be giving nothing. But if I give this amount, then I should still be good, right? And it was like that tug, that war. It was that war that was inside, like, I know what you asked me to give, and I'm having a hard time releasing it. But yet God is like, This is how they will know that you belong to me. This is how they will know that I know you, by how you love. And I gave the amount that God had told me to give. Because above anything else, above my hurting pride, my ego, or whatever else you want to call it, I want God to know me.
So when is love too much love?
Okay.
You know what
So
I'm saying?
the answer to that question is, do you know what God's love looks like?
I mean, you know, we've talked about this before, about what you've been through financially. You told that testimony before. It's a powerful testimony. It's one situation, one circumstance. You know, even though you gave that money, you're not talking about everything else you had to give as well. You know what I'm saying? And how you acted when those things had to be given. And what's still on the table that's trying to be taken. So that story has got a continuation. I think God has got another chapter to their revelation. And personally, I think that's why, you know, you've been talking a lot about love. But like you said, you know, it's easy to ask somebody, do you know what love is? Do you really know the love of God? And so I want to be the guy that points out some examples of the Lord doing some things that may not seem like love. Like the time when Jesus had got so worked up, I got so excited that he on his way into the temple and saw what was going on, and you know, he was just like, ah! It started flipping tables. You know, if you read the King James, the real Bible, as the Southern people say, you know, it says that he fashioned a whip. And so I just want to know, like, where was the love of God in Jesus when in the midst of flipping the table? Like, who was looking, watching him flip the tables and take the time to whittle the whip and whip folks up out the temple? Like, when they're looking, where was the love of God in that they see?
Oh man, like, good question, man. And what it really boils down to, man, and you know, is really like,
I got a couple of them, so go ahead.
yeah.
What you got?
It's really about, like, hold up, man. Like, we have a mission to love others and to love those less fortunate. You know, when it comes to taking care of the poor, the widows, so forth and so on. So our compassion that needs to grow. Like, we have this compassion that, you know, this compassion that Jesus had, because how did he see people, y'all? You see a lot of scriptures where we said that Jesus said that they were like sheep without a shepherd. And so there was a compassion there, and understanding that these people need to be loved. They need
the people in the temple.
The people, not the den of thieves, but those less fortunate, those who needed, who just wanted to come to a place of worship.
Okay.
They just wanted a place to worship, and Jesus was like, you are in the way of God's heart right now.
But Jesus didn't talk about those people. He only spoke on his Father. So how does that correlate? He's like, this is my Father's house.
This is my Father's house. This is my Father's business. And you are in the way, and you are literally breaking my Father's rules. My Father's rules are taking care of the less fortunate, taking care of the poor, taking care of the widow, taking care of the fatherless, the sojourner, the traveler. taking care of those people. You are in the way of God's heart right now. And you don't want to be in the way of God's heart. Because if Jesus gonna start flipping some tables on in your life, what would that look like? Because if I'm in the way of God loving other people, because I feel like they don't. If I'm
because I got some robbing to do.
Bro, I'm telling you, we are in a dangerous situation if we are in the way of God's love.
Ooh. All right. So you're saying that in that situation, what we were really witnessing was not Jesus losing his mind, but because of his love for the Father and the love of what the Father had designated this place to be for those he loved, that because these people were stopping the love, being exemplified, being facilitated, this was Jesus's reaction.
That's a revelation, brother. That's a revelation.
Right. Ain't no love was that deep.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the very place that God, the temple, that God said, this is a place where everybody can come and worship me. You find people charging people who can't even afford to come to the temple. It's kind of like going to church to find out that you got to pay a cover charge.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which most do.
Well, tithing. That's a whole debate. But
more than that these days.
Oh, yeah, definitely more than that. Tithing, offering, whatever.
Pre-registrations.
Yeah. So
I got another one. Good answer, brother. Good answer. I got another one.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, the next one. Where was the love of God? Where was the love of God when we are reading in the Bible and we are witnessing Jesus is going about his business. He's got his disciples with him. He's training them. They're traveling the land and things, going to and fro, spreading the gospel and the good news. And then there was a man who had been bound by a devil. He was, the Bible describes him as somebody who was deaf and dumb. He was throw himself in the fires. He would break his chains. He would, all these things. They said they found him in the mountains, and people would mess with him and stuff like that. But when the Lord came in, he healed the man. He cast out the devil. He delivered him. And then after that, that man's heart, instead of like the Grinch, it grew inside of him. And he fell in love with the Lord and was like, oh, you set me free. All I want to do is follow you all the days of my life. And Jesus said, in this so-called love of God, Jesus said, you can't follow me. You can't come be with us. So where was the love when Jesus delivered this man, and then right after that rejected this man, seemingly? Where was the love of God?
I love how you threw in that word seemingly in there. Like, I really appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, it is true, y'all. Jesus did cast out the spirit from that guy, and he was like, I want to follow you. And Jesus did say, sorry, bro, you can't hang with this crew. You can't hang with this crew. However, I want you to go back and tell everybody what happened.
He told him go to the temple.
I want you to show your face. That way
he said, go to the priest and do as Moses commanded them.
Man. And so what? Where if that wasn't love, can you imagine And I know most church people frown on this.
Uh-huh.
So, but I'm here to stir the pot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm here to stir the pot. You know what I'm saying?
Whip it.
I know they say, always maintain a level of humility.
Yeah.
You know, when God starts blessing you, when God starts raising you up, and starts preparing the table before your enemies and your haters and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But what happens
Mm-hmm.
when Jesus says, no, you can't come with me, but I want you to go to the temple? The same people who said there's no hope for this guy. The same folk who looked at him was like, he can't be in here. The same people who maybe, possibly, was like, priests, scribes, Pharisees, can you help my son break free from this demonic oppression?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, can't help you. Don't have the means to do so. Don't have the power to do so.
You're too far gone, brother.
Too far gone, Mike. Ain't nothing we can do. My reputation is at stake right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't bring them in.
Mm.
And then Jesus said, go to the same place that you were rejected to show that I did not reject you. And it blew the people's mind because they were like, isn't this the dude who was out of his mind?
That's a fact.
Who did this? Who did this? Hey, Jesus did it. Jesus took time when I called out for him. He heard my cry. He heard my cry. He felt and he understood. He got me. But nobody else could. He got
So what
me.
appeared to be rejection wasn't really rejection.
No.
It was go show them just how much you've been accepted.
One of the quickest the school of evangelism. You've been delivered, now go be an evangelist. It wasn't no 6-month course. It wasn't no 3-week, startup and then, pay your $1,500 tuition and we'll make you an evangelist in 6 weeks. It was like my love for you, my compassion for you. Because remember now, Jesus said it clearly. I only say and I only do what I hear my Father saying and doing. I think that is very clear. Jesus knew God, but most importantly, y'all, God knew who Jesus was. He knew who his son was. There is a correlation. There is a man. There's a connection.
It's more than meets the eye.
To God's love and him knowing who you are. Above all else, our desire should be for God to know me. Your desire should be for God to know you. Above everything else that he's called you to do. Preach. Prophesy. Heal. Evangelist. Pastor. Prophet. Apostle. Above all that, does God know you? Well, God knows me because look at the gift that He given me. He had to know me. He had to know. God knows everything, so He know me.
Okay.
Yeah. I may know Flavius, like I gave the illustration earlier. I may know Flavius, but do I know Flavius? Do I really know him, or do I just know him? I know about him. I know about his life. I know that he has a middle name. But do I know his heart? Do I know how to love? Do I know how to love him? My life as a believer should not be worried about how people should be loving me, but it should be about how I can love others. Do you think Jesus was concerned about other people loving him? If he was, he would have been a very miserable Messiah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you
Why don't
imagine?
they love me?
Hey, John, Peter, come here, man. I don't get it, man. As much as I poured into them, how come they don't pour into me? How come nobody takes the time to love on me, man? I mean, I done fed 5,000 people, more than that, with fishes and some bread, and all they want is more, man.
All they want is more.
What about me? I mean, I didn't get to eat. I'm hungry. I mean, like, can you imagine Jesus being like that?
You know what this reminds me of, man?
What's up?
It reminds me of the time where Paul was going about preaching, and it was that person who, what he say, man, Jesus had the power to set you free from X. Let me tell you how he set me free. Amen. Everybody's got a testimony if it's real.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?
Jeremiah 17:9.
Yes, sir. But it reminds me of the story where Paul was going about preaching, and he got to this one town, and there was this woman that was there who had, according to the Bible, bewitched the whole city. And when Paul and them got there, and they was casting out devils, and they was praying for people and healing the sick and preaching the good news, this one was following them around. She was following them around like she knew them. She was following around like, these men are legit. Let me tell you, let me validate them. I know they are real. I know them. And then Paul's reaction when he turned around, when he said he got fed up, and it said that he cast the devil off this woman, and she lost her ability to divine. But it's like it's almost like she was saying, I know God. I know God's men. I know God's people. I know God's power. I know when God is really here. I know when it's real. This is it, y'all. But it was like the Spirit of God, and Paul turned around and asked this question. You saying you know me, but does God know you? Let me tell you what God knows about you. It's a devil with you. It's some deceitfulness with you. It's some uncleanness, unclean spirit with you. But that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like, yeah, a lot of people say they know God. There's a lot of people in the book of Revelations that are going to say, did I not? And it's going to break some of their hearts when God says, I don't know you. And a lot of the things that get listed after that, they like, how it's almost like they saying, how dare you say you don't know me? I done cast out devils. I done healed the sick. I done miracles, all manner of good works. And in that, I don't know you, it makes very clear descriptions about what he's talking about. And all of it has to do with charity. These people are locked up. You ain't gonna see them. These people were hungry. You didn't go see them. Sound like the same God is talking about that the people that Jesus was trying to make room for when he was overturning tables. It's like these people on the highways and byways, these people that are really trying to get here, the sick, the poor, the prisoners, the downtrodden. I love them so much. And here you are in a way saying that you know me, but you don't even know my heart. And like you said, you may know me. I've said some things on social media over the last couple of days that I was like, if this surprises you about me, I'm not going to explain myself, but if it surprises you, now you know why I shout hallelujah. You know, one of the things that I can't stand about myself, I used to. I'm giving up on that since you've been on this love, this love journey. Because y'all know me and Ulysses talk, and he be hitting me with it. I'll be like, man, all right, well, what about this? But this is where God is moving his spirit, and it's powerful because the revelation that's coming out of his mouth is like a lot of people don't want to face it. A lot of people would love to excuse it, but like you said, you could know me, but do you really know me? I know you, but do you know me? I talked about how I used to sell drugs, how I used to be a cheater, how I used to want to take somebody's life, how I used to be a thief, and if you're not, I listed underneath when I said that, I listed everybody who is a living witness to what I just said. That if you could catch them in the corner and ask them, is this true about Flay? He'll say it. They'll tell you it's true. But God. But the one thing that I couldn't stand about myself is I'm like, Lord, why every time you allow the church to give me a chance to do a solo, I cry. They gonna think I'm soft, Lord. Lord, why every time I get to preaching and I get worked up in the pulpit, why instead of hooping and hollering do I get to crying? Like, I need to stop this. Nobody outside the church knows me as a crying man. If you knew me outside of the church for years, you might think I don't even have tear ducts. Because you probably never seen me cry. But as soon as I get into church, walk in, you know what I'm saying? What's up, fellas? Yeah, the real ones in here. And I love God. What? Let me tell you about the Lord and God's goodness. Let me pull myself together. I couldn't stand that about myself. But the truth was, it was like every time I would get ready to serve or sing or preach or testify, I'm talking about I could just be hosting the service. I ain't even the one preaching. I'm getting caught up in the middle of it. God, it's so good. Why am I so soft in this church? But the truth is that it's like in that moment, I am realizing how unfamiliar my description of myself is. I'm telling these people about what my dad knows about me, what my mother knows about me. My dad, when another sibling of mine got locked up, my dad was like, if anybody would have, I hear Charlotte, but if anybody, my dad said this to me. If anybody would have asked me years ago which one of my sons would have went to jail or got locked up, I'd have sure said your name. One time I was in the Denny's. This white lady walked up to me and my brother having a brotherly meal. This white girl, you could tell she one of them hood white girls. You know what I'm saying? And she walked up to us, how y'all doing? Da 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 da. She talking all this stuff, talking about, weed and talking about all kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay. As soon as she left, I leaned in on my brother. I was like, man, if we was white, she wouldn't even say none of that to us. You know what I'm saying? Because we two black men, two black brothers over here. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to be all in the streets in the hood and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? We just trying to have a nice meal. I bet you she don't talk to the rest of these white folks like that. I'm gonna watch her. I turned around and looked at my brother. My brother was like, "You was a street dick. You was out there doing all that, man. You sold drugs." I was like, right. But it's the change, and in certain moments, it's so overwhelming to me that I'm like a stranger in God. But it don't matter how hard I look. When I walk in there, God is like, I know you. I'm like, let me introduce myself. Let me say something about the Lord. God is, and everybody's listening on the edge of their seats. And it's like God is steps in front of everybody. It's like, I know you. And I'm like, you do know me. You do know me. But if you would see me everyday life, you wouldn't even know where them tears come from. It comes from overwhelming, uncontrollable joy and appreciation. People be like, boy, you so humble. Nah, this ain't humility you looking at, bro. Because the people who really know me know I got a mouth on me. What you watching is gratefulness. What you watching is Thanksgiving. You don't even know the type of dude. You don't even, if I told you what I was like, you wouldn't even recognize it. But I love how you said the reason for Jesus sending that man after he got delivered was to go show himself. That's what he said. Go show yourself to the priest and follow the customs of Moses. But the first thing was show what I have done. Show my love for you. All I want to do is be with Jesus. I don't have to come out the house. But he want me to go out there and show people the love. And it's not in my testimony. It's not in the way I preach. It's not in nothing else other than when you see me crying and other men ain't in the pulpit, when you see me tearing up in the middle of a song, I can't even finish it. When you see that, that's me showing you the love of God. I know you don't know what God has redeemed me from. I'm not pretending. I'm not faking it. I'm just trying my best to serve. But in those moments, it's like God is like, show him. Show him what I've done for you. And it's like I cry because I can't even express how much he's done for me. But that's a powerful point when you think about how you could do so many things that we consider supernatural, amazing, signs, wonders, and miracles. But somehow get to the end of our life and meet God and he say, I don't know you. And it's because a lot of people don't know God. They know a God. They know a Jesus. They know a religion. But God don't know that Jesus. God don't even know the God you talking about. God don't know the religion that you so dedicated to. He's like, I don't know you.
And it's tough. It's tough because we grew up in a society in a culture where the idea of doing wrong means that somebody has to be angry or somebody has to discipline you. You know, and yes, God does discipline or chasten those he loves. But have we really looked up what that word really means in the context that it is given? You know, because we can't say God disciplines those he loves. And then Paul turn around and say, perfect love casts out all fear because fear has to do with punishment. So we think of
So
discipline.
is the chastening really a punishment?
Thank you. And so because that's what it boils down to. We look at discipline, chastisement as punishment. And God is saying, if you want to have this perfect love, then we have to do away with this thought process that what I'm about to do is punishment. When God disciplines those he loves, when God chastises those he loves, there is no punishment involved. So the question is, okay, so then what's involved? What does it truly mean when God chastises?
I'm glad I asked.
I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad they wanted to know.
Yes, sir.
Chastisement, discipline, in the way, in the context that it is given, is like saying it's equivalent to somebody that's in the Olympics, as an example.
Okay.
They say, man, you're Flavius, you're in the Olympics, man, like you must be so disciplined. So like you had to punish your body to be able to make it this far. And Flavius looks at the interview and he's like, no, you know what? No, it wasn't that. So what it was my passion to get better. Like waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning was a passion, not a punishment. So when and I love what Chris said, that the word disciple comes from the word discipline, because the discipline is not punishment. It is developing a passion in you to do better. The chastisement is saying, man, you are such an amazing child. Like, I love you. You belong to me. You are mine. Why are you thinking that way? Why are you doubting yourself in that manner? Just about every wrongdoing that you do it starts with how you believe. Let me change what you believe about yourself. You're not a failure. You are strong enough. Let me teach you about my love. Let me teach you about this righteousness. Let me teach you how holy you truly are. And that discipline turns into passion, and that passion turns into, I am a whole brand new creature with a whole brand new mind. But we have the church has taken that discipline and has turned it into punishment. So we are scared, whether we realize it or not. We're nervous, we're worried, whatever the case is, to have to face it. Because, my parents were angry when I did wrong. My spouse was angry when I messed up. My boss almost fired me because like every time we mess up, somebody gets angry. So we hear it preached in the pulpit because that's how we were taught in the world. That's what the culture has taught us. And God is the opposite of the culture. Perfect love cast out all fear, for fear has to do with punishment. If we can believe that, if we can receive that, if we can understand that, then I can, you know what? It's kind of like, and I told Flavors this sometime, like, I used to have this fear that, like, hey, the boss wants to talk to you. And right away, my mind goes into all the things that I could have done wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm about to get disciplined. Oh my gosh, I'm about to get yelled at. I'm about to get fired. And my mind just starts going crazy. Because I'm like, what did I do wrong? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, why am I thinking this way? Like, I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't do nothing wrong. And so, like it's like that inner fight. And then when I go into that meeting, it's like, bro, you've been kicking tail at this job.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did I allow myself to get so concerned? So, like, I freaked myself out. I freaked myself out. And so God was like, yeah, that's kind of how it is with me and some of these folk in the pulpit. The moment I say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, the mind starts freaking out. Okay, what did I know I did something wrong, because I know I'm not perfect. What did I why, the reason why my car didn't start. See, that's the reason why my car didn't start, because God is punishing me, you see, there's a leak in that faucet. It's because I didn't pray when I should have. I knew I should have went to Bible study. Like we start thinking about all these things that we could have done, should have done, to please God more. And God is like, you don't work yourself up for what? Like, I'm here to tell you what a great job you're doing, my child, my son, my daughter. I want to instill my perfect love into you. So next time I say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, fear is nowhere near the conversation.
Man. Whew. I love what you're saying, man. It's look, Charlotte said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Yeah, some men think they in trouble, but and that mind gets it going. The beautiful thing about the question is you look at the lives of the people who got to answer that question. I run into so many people whose lives don't add up to anything Christian. I run into so many people who make so many mistakes. They ask God for forgiveness more than they ask for blessings. I ran into so many people who try so hard to prove to you that they love the Lord, that God know my name. And they try so hard like salesmen, them door-to-door salesmen. Hey, let me catch you. Let me get a moment. I know you wasn't planning on hearing this, but let me get a second of your time so I can say you something, convince you of something. And, if it was plain to see, a lot of people who are really living right, I found that they relax a lot on trying to validate themselves. It's usually the ones who don't feel like, and they may be really saved, but they don't feel like, that battlefield of the mind. They don't think that they in a good standing. So they feel like they got to explain how much God loves them. But I think about Abraham, and I think about God calling Abraham out of a familiar place. I think about Abraham's life and the things that he learned about God along the way. But God knew him first. I think about Moses and how he lived a life in Egypt. And y'all see these black folks out here claiming Egypt again and all the gods that come with it and all the unks and all this other stuff, feeling like they're getting back to their roots. But you got to go through Egypt to do it. It's like, I don't want to be the people that was responsible for enslaving God's people. If we're going to be in imagination, let me be the other people. But Why would it be them? They got flooded. But you look at what a lot of people are going through, and you think about how Moses had every reason to be just like people in 2022. Egyptian eyes and Egyptian tattoos and Egyptian, all this stuff. But God called him when he was out there with Jethro. He didn't even know God like that. Moses didn't know God like that. Moses thought excuses was going to get him out of doing what God wanted him to do. He thought his ability to speak terribly was going to be good enough to disqualify him for what God wanted him to do. It wasn't even Moses' idea to get his brother to roll with him. But God knew him while Moses was still discovering him. You look at, so many different other people that are in the Bible. I believe it was a man sleep one night and he heard his name getting called. And he went to the man that would be like his father. It's like, you called me? And he was like, nah, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. So he went back to sleep. He heard his name again. Got up and was like, did you call me? Somebody, I know you called me. He's like, nah, I didn't call you. And then the man realized in that moment what was happening, that God was calling this young man. And he told him, go back and lay down. And the next time you hear your name being called, respond like this. Say, here I am, Lord. This man, in the midst of discovering God had already known him. And so many people are trying to convince folks in the world that they know God. But the truth is, does God know you? Has it ever, like these examples I've shown, isn't it clear that it's not about you knowing God? That's right. It's not about you knowing God. It's about God knowing you. God don't mind you discovering him. God don't mind being a stranger to you. God don't mind if you don't fully understand him. God don't mind, contrary to popular belief, you asking him questions. It's like a child. A child can ask you all the questions in the world. You only get a little frustrated when they ask you the same question over and over and over and over. That's how we get. Are you sure? Are you sure, God? Can you give me a sign? Are you sure? But the truth is, God don't care about all of that, because if he knows you, then that means he's willing to introduce himself to you. The God that Job knew, the God Job knew took sacrifices even when there was no evidence of wrong. Job was the first one with the seen and unseen sin and the known and unknown sin for my sons. And he was the first one to do that. Preacher been running with it ever since. Until God introduced himself to Job in a way that Job, as much as he knew God, thought he knew God, started talking to God like he was a stranger. How you gonna do this to me? God said, was you there with me?
Who is this
Tell
that wants
me
to question my wisdom?
the works of my hand. Who are you to ask me? Oh, you think you know me? Oh, you thought you knew me? No, Job, I know you. And the same person that was restored and was praising God was exactly who God went to Satan. Satan came to God. He was like, have you tried my servant Job? God might as well have said, you know what? I know a guy. I know a guy named Job. He think he know me, but I know him. Have you tried him? Satan was like, oh man, I heard Job talking all crazy. Job don't even know when his kids is doing right and wrong. Job all in the house making sacrifices. His kids all, man, do I know him? Have I tried him? Yeah, give me a chance. Let me touch his body. Let me touch his family. Let me do this. And I bet you he'll curse you. But God knew Job. And even though all those things happened, And as much as people say, well, Satan came in and did this, Satan came and did that. Every time the devil stood before God, God said, all these times I have stretched forth my hand against Job. I did this. Why? Because I know him. Stop feeling so bad, or stop feeling feeling like you're obligated to convince everybody you meet that you know God and that God knows. Because if you did, you would be depending less on you saying that you know God, and you would be depending more on God saying, I know you. There were men who stood up and preached the word of God, had not seen God. Just a little while ago, they was with Jesus talking about, show us the Father and it'll be good enough. Now they going forward talking about the gospel and the God that knew them, the God that they didn't know. Show him to us so we can finally, that same God that knew them, confirm their words with signs and wonders. He knew them. Does God know you? That's more important than how many people you've tried to convince that you know God. I'll leave it on that.
Listen, y'all. The only thing I'm going to say is, as he was speaking, Jesus asked his disciples that same question. Who do they say I am, and who do you say I am? Revelation comes that can only be revealed by the Father, which was how Peter was able to answer. You are Jesus, you are the Son of God. Peter,
He couldn't even say that if he didn't know you. Go ahead.
Flesh and blood did not reveal that to you, but the Spirit. But I can't end it any other way than Flavius did. That was it's a very mind-blowing thought. Like, from this day forward, if we go out, no longer concerned about me wanting to know God, but asking God, Lord, do you know me, and who am I to you? And what can I do so we can get to this place where you know who I am? And it's like, can you imagine the revelation that's going to unfold in your life starting tonight when you pose that question to God? Who, Lord, do you know me? Not, Lord, what am I? What have you called me to be so I can serve faithfully? So I can do everything what I've been destined to do. The things that was prophesied over my life when I was 12 years old, Lord, let it be done. It's all.
Unto me according to thy will.
We get so intense. Woo. But it's like, Lord, do you know me? Do you let's just start there. Lord, do you know me? What am I? Who am I to you? And let that relationship just flow. And God will begin to open up, God will begin to reveal how he sees you. And the only way I'm gonna give y'all a head start. When the only way that God views you is through the eyes of love. The way that God speaks to you is through love. Why? Because God is love. If love is not flowing from it, if love is not being viewed from it, then it's not God. Point blank. Lord, does God know it? I'm done, y'all, because it's getting late and I gotta work.
Let me leave this last thing just to wrap up the love. I was late to the party, but I do want to say something about love because I know that's what you were saying. Think about everything that Ulysses said. Think about everything that we've said in the comment section. Think about me chiming in as well. Think about it. Wrap all of that up with this, which was the message Ulysses was trying to give you, which is plainly seen in everything that we just said with Jesus and Peter. Peter had done everything that he had done. He found himself standing in front of Jesus, and Jesus was saying, Peter, do you love me? He was saying, yes, Lord. Peter, do you love me? Peter was like, I know I've been telling people I love the Lord and I die for him and I slice off, go against Rome for him with the sword. But why does he keep asking me this? Eventually, Peter had to give up his convincing and be convinced. And he said something to Jesus that most of us need to say. He said, Lord, you know. I can imagine Jesus in that moment saying, now you get it. I do know. Get back to work. Feed my sheep. Now that you're done trying to convince me, and you know that I know, you get back to work. That's love.
So listen, y'all. With that being said, y'all, it's getting late. We appreciate y'all's time.
Whoop, whoop,
And
whoop.
what a dope, powerful conversation. It blessed me to talk about it. It blessed me to, for the revelation to flow from you guys in the comment section.
Me too.
And Blade is dropping in late, but it's like, what a powerful message. If y'all need a recap, I encourage you guys. I know I'm going back to watch this video again.
Man.
I know I am, because it's such a beautiful reminder.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful reminder, man. Like, nothing you can do can convince God to love you more. Nothing you can't do that can convince God to love you less. Because he wants you at such a place where there's no more fear of punishment. But he wants you to pose a question to yourself that is posed tonight. Does God know you? So with that being said, y'all, come back Saturday night.
Yes,
9 p.m.
sir.
Eastern Standard Time for the F.I.R.M podcast. We have an amazing
Oh.
y'all.
We only got time. Y'all better be there Saturday.
Oh my goodness. Some
people about to.
Some heads are gonna roll. Some heads might roll. Some heads definitely gonna explode.
Yeah.
It's
we got some stuff we gotta address, y'all. It's some stuff going on. We gotta address it. That's all I can say. We can't ignore it. Listen, y'all. Ulysses has some things going on in his personal life, and he is getting ready to put on his cape and go out and rescue some folks and help some people. So over the next, we don't even know, for a period of time, he's going to be in and out. So this is probably will be the last guaranteed episode that Ulysses will be fellowshipping with us on the F.I.R.M Fellowship, the F.I.R.M podcast.
Yeah.
Some of y'all thought he was leaving, huh? I just said it like that on purpose. But he's got something that
I'm not leaving y'all. I'm part of the hurricane recovery team.
Yeah.
And my company that I work for is one of the biggest electric companies here in Florida.
Yeah.
And so we've been tasked, all hands on deck, for those who've been living under a rock. The west coast of Florida, Naples, Fort Myers, Sarasota, devastating.
Yeah.
To where we were told in our meeting today that it is not a recovery, it's a rebuild. It is completely devastation. So so usually it's usually like a 2-week thing, but the way that it's looking, it could be more than a month. So, so part of me going down there, y'all, is 16-hour days, 7 days a week, no days off. 16-hour days. Y'all heard it right. 16-hour days, 7 days a week. So that's going to take me from like 6 in the morning to 10 p.m. at night. So obviously y'all know the F.I.R.M podcast is at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, so we'll see what time they actually let us off for the night. But definitely keep us in prayers. We go down. Pray for those who were affected.
Yeah.
By the storm, those who lost houses, lost lives, lost loved ones. You're about to make Charlotte cry. I thought I was leaving for good.
That's what it feels like. I've been calling him all day. Like, man, I just wanted to get one last call in before you get deployed out there. You know what I'm saying? We
like I'm never going to hear from you again. I'm never going to hear, and because there is no signal out there. You know, everything is destroyed and down.
It's
so
destroyed.
Yeah. So once signal gets restored, I'll definitely be making my contacts with those who I need to get in contact. Yes, military deployment. Yeah, that's exactly
how
how
I've been treating it, man. That's how I've been treating it, bro.
Yeah, like, so I gotta do some laundry tomorrow. Pack my bags. Looks like we'll probably be leaving on Monday morning. Headed to undisclosed location. They really don't know yet, because there are so many so many places that are hurting. So it's going to be one of them trips, y'all. But I'm not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. He better not. Y'all think he's going somewhere? My best friend. He ain't going nowhere. Matter of fact, we're going to keep meeting every Saturday. We'll leave the door open, leave the light on for you, Ulysses, man. I can speak for the fellowship, as they said in the comment section. You know what I'm saying? That's right. Be safe. Dodie says you're keeping your prayers. We are going to be praying for your safety and the safety of your crew. And as everybody's been praying for people down in Florida, keep them in prayer. But our brother Ulysses is about to go down on the front line to try, like he said, the initial goal was to help restore power. And now it's a rebuilding. And who more qualified than a child of God to go and edify, to go build up and to restore power, other than our brother. So we're going to keep you in prayer, man. If he can jump on, because the time, what you about to say?
I'm saying I will be here on this Saturday, though.
I'm getting back to that. But those remaining Saturdays, it'll be if he can be there. But every time we come on until he can consistently get back after this Saturday, we're definitely going to be praying for him. Every time we come on every Saturday, we're going to say a prayer for Ulysses, and then we're going to get into the topic or the subject for the night. But this coming weekend, Saturday, don't miss it. It's the only weekend that he can guarantee us, y'all. Okay? And for whatever reason, for whatever reason, the show we're having Saturday is all his idea. All right? And you'll know what I mean when we get there. So if that's how he wants to, depart,
leave with a bang. I'm gonna leave with a bang.
Leave with a bang of correction, exposure, and ultimately love. We love y'all. Keep us in prayer as we do the same for y'all. Be here Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode of the F.I.R.M podcast. Tonight has been random. We thank you for randomly showing up, for commenting at this random occasion. I randomly popped in, and the conversation went exactly where I believe the Spirit of God wanted to lead us. You know what I'm saying? It's revelation. It was powerful tonight. It was like a unveiling of the true love of God. Even when you think you're not seeing it, it's there. Trust him. Have the confidence that he knows you. And if you're sure of that, if you know that you know that you know, then trust God no matter what you're going through. We love y'all. That's his last words.
Love you guys. See y'all Saturday.
Love y'all. See y'all Saturday.
Peace.
Deuces.
Be released from that anger, resentment, and bitterness. You know, that's evident.
Our context on it, and it kind of changed definition.
Convinced himself that he's sufficient for himself.
I love discipleship. Why I love mentoring.
The us in the us and them is ever growing.
Facebook posts, Instagram posts, just another way of connecting with people.
Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another great conversation of F.I.R.M podcast.
What up, world? This is the F.I.R.M.
Ulysses, don't go.